Hi all, this is Professor Luce, and today we're going to talk about presentational aids. There is a PowerPoint on this that you should view, and as a reminder, you do need to download the PowerPoint. It cannot be on a Chromebook. It doesn't work on a Chromebook because then it just opens up another web browser. So in order to watch the video at the end, you do have to download it onto a computer. It may or may not work on a tablet or a phone. It just kind of depends on your ability to download actual items. So let's talk about PowerPoint a little bit today. It is a visual element, and usually visual aids can include anything, but I know you all tend to focus on PowerPoint, so I'm going to spend a little bit more time on that explicitly. To start off, though, generally speaking, with visual aids, there are two general rules that you need to follow. The first is that you need to not be looking at your visual aid, but instead be looking at your audience. Your eye contact is always with your audience. You should know what's on your visual aid, and that way you don't have to look back at it. The second component is that it needs to be clearly visible to the audience at the appropriate time. If you think of things that distract you, having an image in the background is one easy way to get distracted. So you want to make sure that you're only showing the presentational aid when you're actually referring to it, and then make it go away. With PowerPoint, that's really easy because you can have a blank slide, and then your audience is going to be looking at anything in the background. So other visual elements, you might show it really quickly and then put it away. So there are ways to make sure that the presentational aid that you're utilizing is only visible for a short amount of time. And talking about PowerPoint specifically, there are lots of good tutorials on YouTube. If you don't know how to use PowerPoint at all, that's a good place to start. But there's also advanced techniques for PowerPoint that you can find. And there's actually some really cool stuff out there. I recommend a couple of things that are general knowledge and then some things that I've learned on my own too. With PowerPoint and any visual aid, really, you got to make sure that your audience can see it. By that, I mean your font has to be large enough for them to be able to see. The good part about using technology, and if we're in an online environment, is that your audience has that screen in front of them, so they have the ability to magnify it if needed. Now, if you're showing them an object in the background, you have to make sure that they can actually see it. So any sort of block text, etc., needs to be large enough for them to see. If you're in an actual classroom setting where the audience is going to be seeing it, you want to do a test run first to make sure that the farthest point away your audience is going to be, they can see the writing. Generally, the rule is 6 by 6. That means 6 lines of text, no more than 6 words per line. That's not a hard and fast rule. If you have 6 words per line and 7 lines, nobody's going to care. But if you have 20 lines and 20 words per line, that's way too much. We shouldn't be reading your speech, okay? We should be able to get a visual element from it that enhances the speech. That's the whole point of a visual aid. It aids your speech. It doesn't take the place of your speech. If you just put up your entire speech on a PowerPoint, then we don't need you. Like, we can all read, so therefore we don't need you to be able to give us your speech. That's why you don't put just a bunch of text on a PowerPoint. Instead, you use it to enhance. A really good image that I've seen, or commercial that you all are probably familiar with, it's the ASPCA commercial with Sarah McLachlan. So you have like the Arms of an Angel song in the background. You have these very incredibly sad puppies and kittens, and those images have a huge impact on the audience versus just saying that dogs and cats are in a dire situation. Those images are what aid the speech. That is why with any visual aid you use, that's what you should be thinking about, is how does this enhance my speech rather than replacing something I can be saying with my words alone. There are some other things you want to think about with PowerPoint, whether or not you want to have time slides. The advantage to that is that you don't have to worry about touching the computer at all. You don't have to worry about somebody else changing the slides. The downside to that, of course, is that if you get off time, then it can become a little bit more complicated. Other things that you might consider is that there are ways to embed your video, so your speech. You can do a side-by-side with PowerPoint. That is not something we're going to teach in this class just because it takes a little bit more tech savviness to be able to do it. But that's an option for you for the persuasive speech and for the last speech, really, too. If that's something you want to do, you are more than welcome to do that. And it does look like a really good presentation at the end of the day if you can have the side by side of you presenting the video and then whatever visual element you have whenever it's necessary. And you don't have to have a split screen the entire time, just whenever you're referencing PowerPoint or something else. So there's lots of good tutorials on YouTube, though that's really a visual aid. I could try to explain it, but watching the video is probably how you're going to learn the best. Plus, you can rewind those videos over and over and over again if you want to do some more advanced things. The most simplistic things when you think of a visual aid, your audience has got to be able to see it. Your eye contact should be on your audience, not the visual aid. It needs to enhance your speech rather than detract from it. That means you don't put crazy colors on the background. It means you don't have odd colors like a yellow background with a blue font. You want to make sure that your font is a normal font. Don't do like Comic Sans or anything weird. You got to make sure it's the right font size so that way your audience can see it. Those types of things are like basic tests for any visual aid. Your audience has to be able to see it. It should not be a distraction. It has to enhance your speech. Okay, that's all I have for the D2L lecture video. Make sure that you do review the PowerPoint as well, and have a good rest of your day.